Good morning. What's that? What's that now? That's the problem. Ah, that's better. Now I can hear. Right. Yes. Good evening and welcome to Saturday Night Reaver. No Reavers at all involved in the production of this stream, but we have got some Warlord weapons that I built yesterday for the sole purpose of painting today. I was doing a little, I'd say like a stock take of weapons that my Legio Ignatum had, and whilst there was a large selection of weapons for the four warlords, there was only, well, a couple of like choices. So it's mostly apocalypse launchers, las blasters, and one pair of Gatling blasters. So I've had some packs of upgrades in my drawer for a couple of years, to be honest with you, and I thought, well, let's get round to doing them. So the warlord weapons I had left was the conversion beamer extirpator, which is a massive weapon, to say the least, and some turbo lasers for the shoulders, and some Vulcan mega bolters. So we have more options. The ones I've got left, I've got two Warhound grav weapons, and I've got 3 packs of Reaver weapons. So a Graviton Destructor, a Conversion Beam Dissolutor, and a Volkite Eradicator for Reavers, which will go towards my Reaver section of Ignatum, because they don't have anything. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on at the moment. I'm just do. Oh me, another one building. Pardon me. Thank you. So let's do the old socials as always. Painting up some Warlord Titan weapon systems. And right, so that's the first one away. That's lastly, right, that's that done. We shall see what we shall see. Cheers. Right, let's get down to business, shall we? Don't need them. Some tidying up is always helpful. Get away too. Stand you up, stand you up. Right. Straight down to business. I could spray this, but this stuff just goes on so easily. It's cool at the moment. I have got my fan on to help relieve the heat. Whereas it's been a hot one again over here. But manageable at present because of said cooling system of a big fan. So that was always helpful. It would be unbearable otherwise. But yeah, just getting this all slapped on. I've already primed it already, so it's just a case of slapping the brush around in certain areas to try and get into all the nooks and crannies. because that does make a big difference to how this will look in the end. And say with these Vallejo metals, they are really smooth and the pigment goes a long way with very little paint. So that's very handy. I've had them for a couple of years. I got them from a local store the first time I visited it, and yeah, I've only really been using them in the past sort of 18 months to a year really. I stuck with the traditional stuff, but as I say, these do go on really well for a minimal amount of paint. So it's all glorious. So and I might still have to give a little spray down the barrel because I don't think I'm going to be able to get into that bit. So poor judgment on my part. But if I do it wrong, you guys learn to do it better. More IT. I'm slugging my way through models of all sorts of games, mainly Ally. Yeah, so these were in one of my drawers. Well, it's been in boxes and then I was decanted into the drawer. And I was doing a stock take of weapons that my Legio Ignatum possessed, and I thought they're a bit lacking, and I knew that I had these sitting about, so it made sense that I gave them some new additions. And just did a tester for Death and Death Guard. Cool. Are you going more creamy or are you going more ivory and then dirtying that up? I'm definitely going to have to go down the, spray down the nozzle of this. So, Dirty Cream DW route, letting some transfers set whilst watching one of my inspirations, and drinking an ice cold bottle of cola with my name on whilst sweating my ass off in humidity. Yeah, well, luckily I've got fan going off. And the cold one. So 2 sets. Salute. Alright, so I'll put that to one side. Hello, how does this roasting hot evening for you? How finds you, sorry. It finds me in the chair. I have the fan on. So I'm actually quite, I'm quite good, actually. Despite the obvious heat that's lurking outside, this fan is a godsend. I don't think I've got it on medium, so that's okay. Me, what? To be honest, when it gets hot, violence does usually occur. So war is understandable as a comment, really. Hit the wrong button. Easily done. We've all been there. That wrong emoji at the end of a text. Or wrong message sent to the wrong person. Or wrong message sent to the right person. It's one of those things you never can tell, because sometimes you get pleasantly surprised by the reply. You go, ah, okay. You think that way too. Cool. Currently applying some armor panels on my War Master's arms, ready to prime and paint them. Ooh, that's always good. It does look so cool once a War Master is finally assembled and standing there majestic as fuck. You know, it's a beautiful thing to behold, a beautiful sight to behold, even. Um, so it's always when you're nearing the end of a project, especially like a big Titan, you do get that little sense of like achievement from it, which I've always enjoyed. You know, you start off and you get, oh right, I've got a long way to go, and then the next minute you've done the legs and you've done the torso, and then you put them together. You go, wow, it's like almost done. And then you realise you've got all the weapons to do, and the weapons do take time because they've normally got several parts you've got to fiddle about with, and especially like having to sort of magnetize as well, especially with like Reaver weaponry, because they don't all have mag points on there, so you've got to do a lot of drilling to get that all done. So yeah, so it's definitely something that once you've got through the majority of it, that you can look back at what you've already built and you can see it coming together. You think, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this, and that's the joy. That's the hobby joy that's coming out. That realization that, yeah, this is going to look absolutely banging once I've got that done. So sorry, I was hogging all the painting to myself. Sorry. Seeing the model come together is one thing, but a Titan just has that certain je ne sais quoi. Especially like with the bigger guys as well. You know, when you're doing a 40k scale one, it is just like, okay, this goes here, this goes there, that goes there, this. Next minute, you're just standing at like an 85% built model, and you're just going, oh yeah. And it's even better once the paint's on there as well. So it's always a lovely sort of surprise as such. Even though you're like, when I done my last Reaver Titan, I was doing like a weapon, another weapon, third weapon, head, and then you put them all together again. Wow, I've done that. I've been quite productive, sort of thing. And then you're doing like the top section, then you're doing the legs, and then you're sticking them together with the magnets, and you're going, oh, wow. And then you realise I've painted it all. When did that happen? And then you just stick it all together and just go, yeah, this is freaking awesome. And take lots of photographs. Trying to get all the angles covered. A plan to deal with that is arms, head, body. And most definitely I've started my Imperator Titan too. There's a 3D printed one you got. I'm still waiting on my mate to actually get round to actually printing off a walking cathedral for us, but he's got that on a train. He's got a lot of other stuff he's printing off first. So, oh no, you've got the other one, haven't you? I've seen that, the one with like the grill fire plates. Olympica Fosses Imperator, yeah. I saw on the Titan Owners Club you're the man to speak about tiny 2-inch speakers for. Oh yeah, sorry mate. I did see you'd sent a message on Twitter, um, and I thought, why is he messaging me here? He can just ask me on stream. um, well, I obviously was the first person to do such a mad thing as put a speaker system into a Titan. They're a Bluetooth one, so literally, the last one I got was off of Amazon. So it's just a case of searching for a micro Bluetooth speaker, um, and going with one of them. Like, as long as you can tell by the size when they're sitting out there, and with a Warlord, I think one of my friends was thinking about putting it inside the Titan itself. Like with me, with my Warlord, not Warlord, my Warlord hasn't got one, but the Reavers have, and I just put that inside the actual engineering compartment. So I take the top off, plonk it in after I've turned it on, and it's all connected. It cost me about 15 quid. But it was a long time ago. It was the last purchase I've done. So yeah, so there's so just quickly looking at right. So this looks similar to the one that I last got. There you go. It looks about the same. I think I nearly used my paint pen on the trim of it. Whatever floats your boat. So if you do Titans that have silver trim, then you don't really have to worry about doing a lot of trim, because if you're spraying the base like lead belcher type colour, you just go over it, go over the plates with the colours that you want to put in, and then do some dry brushing onto or edge highlighting really. Ba, ba, ba. How did I do that? I was concerned it wouldn't be very loud. I've left the rear exhaust doors off. I'm just considering leaving on the little balcony. Yeah, I say if you put it on the balcony, that's fine. The reason why I put it inside my Reaver is just so it wasn't sitting on the floor or anything else. But it acts as an echo chamber, so it's a little bit louder. But you've got to bear in mind these things aren't going to be massively loud. But you know, in a games hall, they can be quite hard to hear. At Salute, it's practically impossible. But if you was at a Titan Walk, you would hear it because there's not that many people, and they're not all shouting and speaking over each other all the time. But if you're in like a small games group, local game store, you know, you can just pop that on. I tend to just play music a lot of the times, so that it's a psychological thing, especially like when you're playing ABBA, Dancing Queen. I just go onto YouTube. I used to have a ringtone, but with iPhone, they keep on changing the operating system, so I can't play a lot of my ringtones through onto the speakers. So I just have to go onto YouTube. I just search for War of the Worlds Warhorn, and there's one that's about 18 seconds long, and it plays it. There you go. That's it. That's the simplest answer. I did also used to use, when I had the ability to use my like ringtones and stuff, I did used to use the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, because that's actually quite scary. Yeah, you can just imagine Titan's being a bit angry, and he's like really like going for it. But yeah, my original and continuation, continually use as a warlord, warhorn, or sorry, a warhorn in general, is the War of the Worlds warhorn. Not the Ula one. You can do that if you want. So if you heard that, that's the one that I use the most. If you search War of the Worlds Warhorn, you'll see one which has like a picture from the 2005 movie. Yeah, so, but sometimes obviously you just make sure that you haven't inadvertently turn the sound back up, so I'll turn the sound back down, because sometimes you do get like adverts, and that's a bit embarrassing. So when you click on it, make sure you've got the volume down first on your phone, because with those Bluetooth speakers, it's indicated by the phone volume. So go in low just in case there is a advert first. Then once you know it's clear, just go back to the start, volume up, press play, Warhorn emits. And that's all you need to do. Excellent. But yeah, so Warhorns are quintessential for Titans. Everybody should have a Bluetooth speaker. It's still quite amazing that there's only about, I think, 3 of us at the Titan Owners Club walks that have speakers. You just charge them up, pop them in, play them when you need to, play music, whatever, and then get on from there, really. Was. Bubashika. Yeah, no, the Carnix, some of the ones I've heard, they're, start off with potential, but sometimes they do sort of go a little bit whiff. But you do whatever you feel is right for you. At the end of the day, you can play whatever. I do play whatever on the speakers. What's more intimidating? ABBA or something else? Right. Go with what floats your boat. You can also get apps that play like little sort of like sci-fi sound effects. It's kind of cool. It's it's a personal choice. You've got an ant or something on your desk. Tyranny invasion. Yeah, I noticed that. Don't know where he's gone. He's out there somewhere, wandering around. Maybe dragging off someone to the melting pool things they use, biopools, for transporting their DNA up to the Norns ships. Who knows? I want a sound effect that resembles a nuclear explosion to be used when Titan destroyed and reactor meltdown. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to find something. A nuclear explosion might be a bit hard. Sure that there's plenty of other explosions that might suffice. Sam. I was just say, thinking about it, if you wanted something like, maybe not an explosion as such, but with Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, just have the voice of the young Australian actor when they're describing, telling the tale of Captain Walker. Because it's when they get to the bit and they reveal there's a wall painting of a mushroom cloud, and they go, "Apocalypse." They just have them saying, "Apocalypse," and it's like, "Oh yeah, blown up. It's an apocalypse." Obviously, a princess of a certain age would understand that, really. I really fancy watching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome now. Said bye bye. Bye bye. To the Sky Towers. I wish GW would release the background noise they have at Warhammer World and maybe onto Warhammer Plus. Keep on asking. You like making money, do you not? Do this! I'm sure there's probably something similar, like on YouTube. To be fair, just search for it. I'm sure you'll find something. Like the Mechanicus game soundtracks on there. Let's yeah. That's on there. It's ridiculous. Just make sure you get both sides of the coin. Just going around that's there. The inside section there, do that. Get that bit there. Nice. Who'd have thought that painting silver and black could be so stressful? It's not. It takes time. It takes time, my friends. Now I have to do the cables in the same colour because that's the way of things. I have to use a different brush. I don't want to be touching the little bits in between. Little cable ties. I'm poring over transfers now. I do love doing transfers. The tilting shields leave loads of room for creativity. That they do. So you can do your say personal heraldry of the princeps. You know, battle honours. If you think anything appropriate. There has been times where if a Titan operating with a Legion performs some heroic defense or assists the Legion and saves the day, stuff like that. Sometimes the Legion will bestow the honour of their insignia to grace their engine. And personal heraldry is purely down to the princeps of the engine. It's not like a set thing, because obviously different people earn different titles and honours during the course of their long lives, hopefully long lives as a time princeps. Let's get in that. My headcanon is my Titan was rebuilt from parts of the 9 paragons of Prasagius, particularly Pride of Connor. So it's called Pride of Ultramar and has been honoured with the Ultramarines of the Ultima. That's cool. I would I would still, as part of your backstory, yes, if it's built from the 9 paragons of Prasagius and all that sort of stuff, but it still has to prove its worth. Because just because it's basically been, you know, put together from various bits and pieces of other Titans doesn't mean it's going to be a good Titan. So Legion wouldn't just automatically just go, oh yeah, have this on there because you once was, you know, the Pride of Connor. You know, it would still have to prove itself worthy in extremis to be granted quite a prestigious accolade from a Space Marine Legion. They don't give them out willy-nilly. So this is not for a heresy build. Beer time. Ooh. That's better. Right. Just depends how quickly the Mechanicum could cobble together a warlord from the 9 that fell on Calf. Do you think they could have put them together that quickly and taken them part in the war? Yeah. Easy. Problem is, Calf was sort of left to its own devices for like pretty much 10 years. So time need. You got to remember is obviously getting hold of the parts as well, because they would have been on the surface underneath the poisoned sun of Calf. Because I doubt. Well, they might have managed to get some parts of them underground before it all went to shit. Or you could just say that it has this, like, because when you say like that's parts, it could just be like, oh, this one has an actuator. Something really simple from what it was managed to salvage from the Titans. It doesn't have to be like a whole leg. It doesn't have to be like Frankenstein. It could be a normal Titan that's been assembled, but they've used bits that it was able to salvage, sort of thing. So it's like, but then, because there's this thing that they have, not they have, but, and it is a thing because it's canon. The Axiarchs of the Securita. Skitari, Secutari. Yeah, the Secutari. The Titan Skitari, basically. So the Axiarchs have their armor is like has a sharp is made from the armor plates, melted down and remade or whatever, but it retains the war spirit of the Titan. The problem with that is if you're using 9 different parts, they have 9 different war spirits still attuned as part of them. So that could actually, as a background thing, that could cause conflict because you have the war spirit or the war spirit Majoris, of that Titan, but because you've got these parts from other Titans that has just an aspect, it could cause conflict with the whole, if you know what I mean. It's an interesting sort of thing. Like, it might add to the quirky nature of the Titan. Maybe it's got it suffers from what do you call it? Indecision. Because you have the spirits, residing spirits from the parts. All these things you have to take into account. Like when I wrote up my background for, like, I've done quite a lot of writing for the origins of Iracundus, which I wrote that, or started writing that, even before it became like canon and stuff. And the thing I'd done with like Iracundus's origins is that there was in Titan Legions, when they're talking about the different legios, and they talk about the Fire Wasps, Ignatum, and they said that at the start of the Great Crusade, the Emperor blessed 80 of its Titans personally. That's what I think. Which he never done for any other Titan Legio. It was Ignatum was the ones that he blessed. So I thought, well, that'd be pretty cool. Like a bit of background fluff. And how would you signify that? So when the whole with AT, everyone had painted their Titans, Ignitum Titans especially, similar to the Forge World Warhound from like the website, from the actual catalogue. They had one painted up in Ignitum colours. They had gold trim, so people started painting them with gold trim. And then in White Dwarf, they showed a picture of I think it's Matt Holland's Ignitum. So this is before they brought out any artwork for Ignitum, and his Ignitum had silver trim. And so people going, well, what is it? Is it gold trim? Is it silver trim? We don't know. And then when they brought out the book Crucible of Defiance, Crucible of Retribution, sorry, and you had the Ignitum engines finally turn up, not only did they now have zigzag black lines for their hazard stripes, but they also had black trim. So lots of people going, well, what? And the thing is, like, the artworks that they brought out, the Titans did have black trim. So it's like, right, okay. So I said to the people in, because I run the Ignitum group on Facebook. So I said, look at it this way, right? So you've got Titans that have gold trim. They're the ones that were blessed by the Emperor back in the Great Crusade, sort of thing, in the beginning. When they are produced, so when they're straight off the production line, they're silver, sort of thing. And the ones that have black trim are the princeps have sworn an oath of like retribution against the traitors, and so they wear black trim as a reminder of their oath that they are going to go out there and slaughter these traitors for breaking their oaths to the Emperor. So it's like a shame mark for all Titan princeps, and they're taking the burden, sort of thing. And people seem to think, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that, because it gives like a sort of a lore background. Might only be amongst us people in the Ignitum group, but when people had painted their Titans already, you don't want to repaint things. So people said, yeah, that sounds cool, because not everybody had gold trim, not everybody had silver trim, and not everybody had black trim. Well, hardly anyone had black trim because they didn't realise it was black. I cottoned onto it earlier on and started implementing the change kind of on the behalf of GW, because I knew of it via GW. But then I realised when you look at the pictures, yeah, they have black trim. It was right there in front of us, but nobody paid attention. So by doing it, I sort of started people thinking, oh, black trim, and getting the conversation started. So that's why there wasn't a massive kickback against it, because you sort of desensitized them and already sort of like got people around to thinking that way. That's a nice workaround. I love when people get involved with stuff like that. Yeah, well, I said I've even spoken of that sort of fact to like rules writers and stuff at Specialist Games. because sometimes they do actually ask questions. You know, I was years ago, so this is the last Horus Heresy Weekender, and you know, because of my also connections to the Titans, not Titans Owners Club, but also the Tyrannus Owners Club, because I set that up in 2015 with Ben Greaves and Scott Charnick. One of the things that Andy Hoare, like head of Specialist Games, always had great fun was basically on, and he's done this several times on like Warhammer TV sort of interviews and stuff like that, or when they're talking about sort of releases about, you know, and I'm in the chat and he'd see my name and go, oh yeah, it's Lee Marshall, it's you know, who's the collector of all 2 Knights of House Tyrannus. But when I saw him at the last Heresy Weekender in 2019, he actually took me to one side and asked me, like, you know, because some of the guys in the specialist, like new guys in specialist games, and like, was asking questions themselves, and because obviously I'm involved with Tyrannus and all that sort of stuff, he actually just said to me, so, okay, it's right, so you tell me how you see, you know, the 2 Knights of Tyrannus being more. And so I went, okay then, and I laid it out for him. So, you know, there's certain things from the lore that have already been established. So one of the big ones is that the Forged Moon of Phobos, you know, the moon above Mars, there was 2, because one of them, Deimos, got shifted off to hang around Titan. So that's why you don't have Deimos pattern land raiders in 40k, because they got reallocated. The whole moon got moved to orbit Titan, itself a moon, to serve as a forge for the Grey Knights. So only Phobos is after the, you know, Siege of Terror. Before the Siege of Terror, Deimos got moved in preparation for the whole Grey Knights thing. So Phobos was there. House Tyrannus was awarded Phobos in gratitude for their services in retaking Mars. And you're not going to retake Mars with 2 Knights. So I was saying there has to be more. Plus, in the Mechanicum, there was 27 Knights during the Battle of Magma City. But that was the only Knights available because they were the only ones that had power because of the destruction of Maximal Itfall's fusion reactors, where he detonated them all. Not all the Knights that were at their home base had power. So only the ones that had power walked to the defense of Magma City and were mostly lost, sort of thing. It was also the first Knight household. They're not just going to have a few Knights. They're the first one. There was obviously 4 originally. Tyrannus absorbed 1, so that left 3. So Tyrannus was the first house. It absorbed another house and formally took the name House Tyrannus. Then you had, or the Knights of Tyrannus. Then you had House Morbidia, and then you also had House. Oh bloody hell! Oh fuck! It was the other loyalist one, the one that was with Tyrannus in Riser. So anyway, so they've got to have more Knights. It's you know, goes without saying. So I said there must be Knights amongst the Explorator fleets that are out there, because Tyrannus is the symbol of Mars, more so than the other Knight houses. Zavorax. Yeah. So because their, you know, High Lord Commander was the first Martian to meet the Emperor when the Emperor or the Omnissiah appeared. So Tyrannus have a legacy because they were the first to meet the Omnissiah. They threw in with the Omnissiah. They were held in high regard by all the martial factions of Mars. Even the Titan legions, legios, held them in high regard. So they had a special place in the Martian etiquette and sort of hierarchy and all that sort of stuff. So, as I said, the ones on Mars mostly wiped out, apart from the ones that were still at their Asia Mons, their fortress monastery type thing. But they must have had Knight Lances out on campaign, because who wouldn't want to go on campaign as a knight? Right, I've just seen your what's it? Rather than say no, it's not like that. Instead of, it's more like fun to say it is like that, but how can you make it make sense? Yeah. What brand of paintbrushes do you use? I use whatever I can find. So I'm not one of these people that go, oh yeah, I use Rose & Co, Winsor & Newton, or Tesseract brushes. I literally will go into a local hobby store and buy a pack of brushes. I abuse brushes. I do not look after them. I am dangerous. But, you know, for what you could buy a decent sort of like Rose & Co brush, which is considered by many of my friends to be one of the best brushes out there. For a single one of them, I could buy probably like 10 packs of basic brushes and use and abuse them, because I don't just use detail brushes. I use like flat brushes as well. I use a lot of flat brushes. So for me personally, I just, you know, admittedly, I've got, this one was a heavy metal brush that my partner got me about 15 years ago. There was two of them. That's the only one I can find. But I don't really sort of recommend brushes as such, because I just buy cheap ones and go through them, because I know that I won't look after them. What was I saying? Yeah, so knights, martial pride and stuff, so they would want to go on campaign and, you know, go with the explorator fleets, expeditionary fleets and stuff. And then, you know, those coming back to Mars, because, you know, you'd go back to your home to fight for it if you can, sort of thing. But you've also got the Fabricator General Howe. Zagreus Kane of the Adeptus Mechanicus. So any hope of retaking Mars, having a symbol such as House Tyrannus as part of your sort of retaking gives you legitimacy, because it's House Tyrannus sort of thing, and everybody knows House Tyrannus. But again, in the later wars where symbolism holds sway, that is quite a symbol to have. So I also said that, you know, in Emperor Master of Mankind by Aaron Dembski Bowden, he wrote about House Viridia, who some of its members had gone to Terra to find out what the hell was going on, because they were considered to be traitors. They weren't traitors. They were just siding with who they thought was right. Realised it wasn't. Went to find out what the truth was, and was incarcerated. Later released into the care of the Adeptus Mechanicus to serve as knights in the Webway War. But they had no suits because their homeworld had been destroyed by the Emperor's Children in retribution of their betrayal, sort of thing. So they basically got lots of suits from other knight households. That, like, have you got any spare suits that we need to help with the defense of Terra? And Krast and whoever basically said, yeah, we'll send you some suits. And so, well, they could do that easy enough. You've also got the survivors of House Viridia. What's happening with them? Maybe they can go, hey, dude, we're going to merge you into a new house. We'll forgive your transgressions, and you become part of House Tyrannus and help reform House Tyrannus. It has later turned out there are survivors, more survivors of House Tyrannus on Mars, notably scions that didn't go to battle because they didn't have any suits, or powered suits, sorry. So you've got that to help rebuild the Night House, plus other like Titan princeps or Moderati who are without Titan. They could easily go over to operating a night suit, sort of thing. It's not as not as sort of intricate or sort of dangerous as piloting a Titan. Well, it's dangerous, but you know what I mean. So they would understand combat and all that sort of stuff anyway. So maybe they say, look, we've got no Titans, we've got some knights if you want to go and hang out and fight a good fight. So yeah, you can swell numbers easy enough, as well as rapid sort of recruitment things amongst the general populace if they're if they have the skills to operate pilots at nights and stuff. Free blades as well. There was loads of like night houses that have lost their lands and planets, much like Viridian. They can say, look, okay, why didn't you come join us? And that way you got that. So you think, well, okay, that's interesting. I get asked these sort of questions. It's good to get like other input and stuff. Yeah, well, that's my take on how you can go from A to B to C. You already know that Tyrannus have been rewarded Phobos, so that's canon, and they love a little bit of old sort of canon coming back into the fore. So that's your target point. So why would they get that? They're not going to be given that because there was two knights sitting on Mars with Wrath Maven and Leopold Kronos, the two knights that featured in Mechanicum. So if you can work out your ABC utilizing stuff that has already been established in other things. So as I said, I've used bits that are not connected to Tyrannus with the whole Viridian getting night suits and stuff. The survivors of the Webway War, because the standing order is if you wasn't Mechanicum or Mechanicus or part of the Talons or the Emperor, you were put for execution once you come out the Webway. Why waste the resource? So, as I said, Cain could have gone, you're now part of the Mechanicus, so that negates you being executed. You go where I tell you because you are now indentured to the Mechanicus. We need you to fill out the numbers and go from there. So you had that. But then they brought out, like a year or two, or a couple of years later, they brought out Defensive Riser. So I think it was about 2021, 2022. Yeah, so they brought out Defensive Riser, and in that you had Sephora. Sephora is the third night house of Mars. and Tyrannus, and the Tyrannus knights had been, from where they started off with the explorator fleets and colonization and all that, and heading, they basically been jumping from Forge World to Forge World to Forge World on their way back to Mars. And at the time they were at Riser, and they were starting to change, because originally they were blue, as of Mechanicum, they were blue and silver. But some of them were starting to paint their knights red. And they were doing that in thanks to all the Forge Worlds that has basically kept them alive by working on their knight suits, giving them new knight suits to fight in, and supporting them. And so you see there's a sort of a bit of a split in sort of the ethics of the house, but having them in red eventually, because they do become all red, would basically make them a bigger symbol for the retaking of Mars. So it all worked out in the end. And that ties in the whole, but they were blue in Mechanicum, why are they red now? That's the thing. Titan Legions change colours, as we've established. Engine Phil, good evening. How are we? What are you up to, dude? Right. Watching Live Aid and sorting out VDI pool for a client. Nice. So not much then. Yeah, no, PC's working. She's happy. I'd asked her when I got in tonight how it was going, and she said, "Oh, it's so much better because I've got so much more space for storage." So she's happy as Larry, whoever Larry is. So mucho gracias for sorting that out and installing that. Live Aid, I come back in time. But it's the 40th anniversary today. Yeah, you're all right. You're in good company here. We're all old. And that is that. The final armor piece is painted and attached, completed battle ready warlord. Awesome. You need to get that warhorn sorted, ordered, and then put it in there to signify it's awake. Because that's what I do every time that Iracundus walks. I leave the head being put on till last. So once the head's on, that's when I sound the war horn to signify it is awake. Turn that off for a bit. If I just turn it to the lowest setting, I'll probably turn it to the lowest setting. So yeah, and what's next? He says, how do you transport them? Well, personally, because I have the top and bottom magnetized, I put the top section in a really useful box, 35-litre really useful box, and the legs in another really useful box, but it was one that I had, so it's still a 35-litre box, but it had a higher lid to it, so it allows for the legs to stand in their pose in there. Then I put the weapons between the legs or around the side of the torso, and then put lots of bubble wrap in and around it, sort of thing. Whereas other people actually have cases with like battle foam type stuff for it to sit in. So there's lots of options. If you're in part of the Titans Owners Club, it's always worth asking a question, because you'll get several people being able to give you a heads up onto where to look, and even occasionally web pages, which are always handy. We've 322. Evening, Lee, you saucy devil, you. That's an Ollie. Hi, Ollie. Welcome to my domain. How are you today, you little saucy dog? Yeah, I didn't. When I was yesterday in chat, that I could hardly hear any of you guys when you were playing your game, so I just sort of flashed around. Oh, okay, and then backed off. I did hear that you was all leaving, so whether or not it was because you was playing the game and switching in or whatever, but I couldn't hear you a lot of the time, so I just went about my business building weapons. Hola, my paint is drying before it reaches the model. Yes. Hey, Kenneth. I'm late. How are you tonight, sir? Yeah, been all right. We've been painting. I've been telling stories about House Tyrannus and how awesome they are. Um, and yeah, it's been good so far. It's, chilled as always. And obviously, Engine Phil's turned up, and he's letting everyone know that on BBC Two you can watch Live Aid. If you missed it the first time by being too young, you can watch it again now. That's okay, mate. I felt bad because Alex joined just to be left, did it? Timing! Well, that's the things, people have had to do stuff. I wasn't suggesting people should watch it instead. Oh no, I understand. You played a long game with your revenge. From that time I banned you. I know what you're like, Phil. I've known you long enough. Coming around here, we got Lady Gaga, Radio Lady Gaga, whatever it's called. I don't know. We all know your favourite Titan Legion, but what's your least favourite? Mortis. That's my least favourite. Because my favourite is the Fire Wasp, and that's their mortal enemies. Revenge is a dish best served 10 levels later, as we say in the MMOs or RPGs. That is true. Lies, I've heard rumours you've a legion of them hidden away. I have a legion of dead ones on bases, if that counts. And the thing is, like, with Mortis, like the modern Mortis, their scheme is really nice. It's a really nice looking scheme. It's just that I'm a Fire Wasp. And you can't be having affections towards the atypical bad guys. So that's why when AT was coming out, and I thought, well, it's going to be Ignatum. Who am I going to do as the bad guys, and most people will go, "Oh, I'm gonna do Mortis," and you go, "No, how can you do Mortis? If you're an Ignatum, player, how can you choose to do Mortis? They're horrid, they're naughty boys, naughty, naughty, naughty." So I refused on that premise, and I done the Godbreakers instead, because that's the most fucking metal Legion name. The Legio Krytos Godbreakers, fucking awesome. So yeah, I went with the Rule of Cool as my original bad guys. But it's a shame that Mortis is, their scheme is, simple yet effective. It looks cool, but they're just too much of a bad situation. What did Mortis do that was so bad? Well, they turned against the Emperor. So when you've got on Mars the original first 3 Titan Legios that were constructed and created was Ignatum, Mortis, and Tempestus. So Ignatum were basically like, the archetype is that they are defenders, sort of thing. But they're they're renowned for being very aggressive, hyper aggressive when attacked and stuff like that. So they were perfect for defending. They're very loyal and all that sort of stuff. Mortis was basically, Tempestus were like the crusading Titan Legios. So they would go out and, bring about good times and parties with their crusading antics. And Mortis were the destroyers, sort of thing. So when you had to absolutely annihilate somebody, you sent in Mortis, sort of thing. So Ignatum got, a lot of prestige because they were, again, the first Legion, Titan Legio of Mars. Also, when the Emperor turned up, he took a shine to Ignatum. As mentioned earlier on, there's old lore from Titan Legion's game during the 90s, and it specifically said that the Emperor blessed 80 engines of Ignatum. So there was 80 engines that he personally blessed. So that was his his marker to say, you are the Legio of the Emperor, sort of thing. And they take that to pride and all sorts of stuff. Mortis, on the other hand, sort of became the Fabricator General's personal sort of Legio. And they always got given all the good shit. So all the new engines, they had the most sort of like Warlord Titans or Heavy Titans sort of thing than all the other Legios, because they got all the new stuff first because of that sort of thing. So what Mortis was to the Fabricator General, Ignatum was to the Emperor, sort of thing. And Tempestus was just in the middle. And they did change the lore a little bit, because apparently the ones the ones that are on Mars during the book Mechanicum were just like the command battle groups, the Legio, I think, of the Stormlord, the head princeps of the Legion, Princeps Maximus. Um, they'd been damaged during the campaign, gone back to Mars, but the majority of the Legio turned traitor. So originally it was like Tempestus was destroyed on Mars, but because there was people that already painted Titans and stuff, they go, no, you can't do that. They sort of changed it that there were loyalists elsewhere, sort of thing. So it weren't as cut and dry, but they were a split Legio. So you had one that should be full loyalist, one at full traitor, and one with a 50-50 option of loyalty. Because all other Titan Legios are based on those three archetypes. So there are Titan Legios that hail from like successor chapters. They got to a certain size, and when the Martian priesthood were going, okay, we're going out to set up new forges and stuff like that. We need Titans, and so he said, well, we'll take some Titans from your Legio, and they'll go to this Forge World, and they will become, a new Titan Order sort of thing. So that's what they did. They got shifted around. And I think the ones there's Ataris, for example. Ataris were another Legio that was created from another Legio. So it was Legio Ozidax, who were the prime Titan Legio of Phaeton, because Phaeton was basically rivaling Mars for output and technology and stuff like that, which Mars didn't really like. And then they sent out to set up another forge, and Audax was asked to donate some Titans, basically. So they sent a load of Titans out to this colonization of this new planet for Forge World, Altair Merion, I think it is, something like that. And the Firebrands, aka Ataris, were created, and so that's the only one that I know off the top of my head. I know that there are obviously other Titan Legios that were mentioned that were descendants or sort of thing of Ignatum. I think two of them are actually traitor ones. One of them became, I think it's Legio Magma, and Legio Suterova, which became Legio Infernus. But, distance, time, shit happens. They went their own way, and they went Naughtyville. Agreed. It's like Ultramarines and Word Bearers. How can you paint Word Bearers as an Ultramarines fan? Yeah. It's not one of those things you do. You can paint some dead ones to put on bases, that's fine. But they're dead. But sometimes there's people out there that just have no heart. Just don't care. Not dead, just sleepy. Wake up, sleepyhead. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Yes, so here's the old booba shaker. Yes. That's not the one I'm looking for. Pardon me. I'm going to give that a blast with a hairdryer. That to one side, put that to one side. Oh, that's an interesting horn you got there, my friend. Local wildlife trying to call a member of the pack. More than likely. There's I completely forgot what I was doing. Yes, the very much the wildlife of Essex congregating in the car park with their. To be fair, it's different to what you normally getting to hear out the back there with like really muffled like beatbox and whatever. I don't know the music the kids of today are listening to. But it's I'm gonna need some more. I need some more. Right. That. Get in there. I've got to get some more Agrax. I think I have finally run out because I always make sure I had a lot of Agrax, but I keep on forgetting. So I must get some more at some stage. But yeah, it's so hard. Like they keep on changing the formula on Agrax as well, haven't they? A couple of times in the past couple of years. Um, I may have another pot somewhere because I did invest quite a lot in Agrax. Um, never have enough, but I have been a bit lax in this year in particular. I've bought very few paints this year, to be fair. So maybe I should actually look into actually rectifying that situation and topping up supply, especially the ones that I use a lot of, like Agrax. Seems a bit silly, doesn't it, really? Yeah, so actually, considering it's a Saturday night, it is actually surprisingly quiet out there. Touch wood. Nothing's crept up and disturbed the peace and serenity that is Saturday Night River. Although saying that, I'm sure there's been a severe lack of like fox sex, because we always usually get this time of night and onwards, you'd get the Randy Foxes at it as always, but not so much. I don't know. Maybe there's been a disturbance amongst the fox community. Fallings out, marital disputes. Right, I'm gonna make myself a drink because I have 7-Up, a nice curd one, but I think because I'm in the mood, vodka, because I'm out of beer. Just let that simmer. Let's put the lid on first before I spills it everywhere. Some random noise. Local use, and we took that personally. All cars and mopeds roll up. Well, you do get some like really interesting sort of like situations with people. Sometimes they're in cars, sometimes they're in the park. There's a little like playground over the back there, so you hear them like running up and down the slides at like midnight. Really? Oh, I was wrong. There was a little bit of beer left. A little bit of beer. A little bit of beer. Right, gotta blow these. Dry on their own over yonder. That's the real key player here. Is the extirpator, extirpator, whatever it is. The strange sounding naming thingy. I'm trying to keep away from being too close to the edges. want the edges to retain that shading. So even around this bit in the middle. Build it up. Oh, hello. It's a Brian. Hello, Brian. What are you doing up this late? Oh, is this because I called you an arse? You swooping in just to mock me about my pillow? Is that it? As some of you may know, I go to a certain person's birthday roleplay weekend shenanigans, extravaganzas, and the first one I went to, I accidentally left my pillow there. And then Brian decided to send some pictures of what he was doing to said pillow, and I cannot even describe them. They are indescribable. But I have been in trauma. I've been in counselling ever since. It was shocking. I did not expect the things that I saw. It's haunted me to this day. And every now and again, he just reminds me of the fact that he viciously, without any sort of, shame to it either. Is the pillow loved? Aggressively more so? No, it's not going to say that. You bastard. So I think, like, he's like Peter de Vries, and I am Dr. Wellington Yueh, and he is doing things to break my imperial conditioning. Hi, cat. How's Arthur? I mean Angron, Arthur, Angron, and Rain. Are they behaving themselves? I hope so. Flesh and zebra. I say this is definitely Antrons. Rain's an angel. Of course she is. Yes. That's how it started. Now it's just for the enjoyment of pillow time. Yeah. It's the fact that he sent pictures, Kenneth. That's the thing. Hearing things is letting your imagination do the work is one thing. Having images ingrained upon your psyche and your memory card on your phone, you don't get over that. So he mentioned it today. He sent over, I can't even remember what it was. I just basically said, "You're such an arse." Because we get into like little reel wars where we just have conversations of reels and memes and stuff like that. But I'm going to have to look this up now. Where was it? Well, I know that's the wrong one. It was on the other channel. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Yeah, so some of you might have seen a picture that I posted on my stories earlier on of an old picture of me, which some people still can't get their head around that was actually me. And he sent me a message describing that the look on it is me thinking about my pillow. To which I replied, "You're such an arse." And that's probably why he stayed up extra late to come here and torment me. It's also probably in revenge for the time that I took him to Forge World Open Day, and he fell asleep in the car, and I was taking pictures of him and posted them into certain groups. We are kids. What can I say? One pound. Gentleman's War. Was it the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Conduct? As you say about war, I actually watched Alex was A24. I think it's on. I think it's on Prime, but it's just called War. So I watched that. And that was actually really good. I really enjoyed that. It was like because it was based on a true events as well, documenting a certain situation where it's not going like tits up, but it's basically they get into a bit of a heavy engagement with rebel elements and stuff. But it was really quite good, and it probably shows what it's more like in those situations, those long gaps of inactivity, and then suddenly, oh my god, everything's on fire. To be fair, I angrily bought a Warlord Titan that day. Yeah, and no, you happily bought a Warlord Titan. You was merely angry at the fact that they wanted to charge you like 30 pence for a bag to put the boxes in, and you're like, dude, I've just spent out like 1,300 quid on Titan and bits, and you're going to charge me for a bag. Right, I'm going to leave this here. You're going to look after this while I go have lunch. Hello, Gretag. How are you? At that price, they should carry it to the car. It's just one of those things that like you're going like he was like on the verge of going like I'm in the mood just to fucking like return it. It's just like fucking it was ridiculous. Like yeah, but it was just it was so funny because he just got so fucking worked up on it. He's just going like, really? You're gonna charge me for a bag? They made you buy a bag after buying a Warlord. That delivery would have been free. Yeah, that was when it was released at the Heresy. No. This was what was no? It was just a Forge World Open Day. So it was one of the last open days they did, and I think that was also like It was one. Well, Alan Bligh was still there, was still with us as well. So because it was when they released. They'd previously released earlier on at the Heresy Weekender. They released, I think it's either book 5 or book 6. It's the one where the Ultramarines are in it, and I had a lovely conversation with Alan, because he was basically, I've gone up to have a chat and asked him to sign the book basically, and he had said like, so what did you think of the Ultramarines and all that, and then I just went off on one for about 5 minutes, just saying like how, you know, it was great to see, you know, showing people at last that, you know, the reason why they were such a big legion wasn't because they'd been given the gene seed from the 2nd and the 11th legions and their destruction. Is because they're basically one of the purest gene seeds. So like they had one of the highest conversion rates of inductees into the becoming acolytes and all that sort of stuff. But also they've got the most organised motherfucker in the universe in Rubutu Gilliman, and he has 500 fucking worlds to recruit from. Where does it not make sense? You know, where all these other legions are built around one planet with maybe a couple of other bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. The Ultramarines had 500 worlds, 500 entire planets with various degrees of population to recruit from. So yeah, it's like nobody ever thinks about that. I'm good. Been playing board games with the kid. Nice. It's always good to obviously work on her more to get into gaming. So obviously you need that for later life. I'm currently trying to decide which legion to paint my Saturnine as. Ooh, interesting. So, do you have any like anything from like 40k that you are, you know, any sort of chapter that you might have feelings for that could be around in the past, or could be a like, you know, successor chapter originated from those legions? Or do you like a particular color? If you say like, if you've got no real sort of like, if you bought Saturnine without thinking of a legion to use for them, I personally, I would like, as someone who's, you know, I've done several legions, but Saturnine, as with all that, you know, Saturnine armor and the big dreadnought thingy, I think salamanders do look cool in the colours. Main two contenders are salamanders and iron hands. So, yeah, salamanders. Salamanders look cool in that armor, you know, with the red, and do some black and some maybe little fiery bits on the pads, sort of thing. Obviously, there's loads of people that have done that sort of thing, like Iron Hands. Now, I think they would look better. Yeah, I just associated with, because out of all the legions, salamanders would be, they look after their shit. So, and I always remember that originally, like in the 40k type era, like the thing about because they'd never managed to recoup the numbers that they lost because of the drop site massacre, and they only had a chapter of 600. They couldn't build it bigger, higher, or whatever. But there used to be a bit of lore where they basically, that 600 were all wearing Terminator plate because they were the only ones. They were so small, but they looked after their stuff, and so that's why they had like 6 full companies worth of Terminator. But then obviously they changed it again. He was reading about them today. Or the Iron Hands or the other dudes. Ba, ba, da, ba. There's a cool Salamanders animation on Warhammer Plus. I actually watched when I was round at Phil's yesterday. He was kindly enough to said he said, "Have you seen Kill Lupercal yet?" I went, "Well, no, I haven't. I got Warhammer Plus." He goes, "Okay, we're watching it," and he's like loaded it up, so it was on in the background sort of thing. And as a Titan head, that was brilliant. I really enjoyed watching that. It was just fantastic. So totally worth it. Ba, 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 ba. You did. So you did recommend watching that, but not Live Aid on BBC Two, for those that are in and around watching Live Aid. Right. Extrapolator. Still waiting for Kill Lupercal episode 3. I'm still watching Just Head Bowie. Not Tom Petty. Now Tom Petty, I mean. No, not Tom Petty. Yes, Tom Petty. Tom Petty. No, I'm gonna... I won't risk it for a biscuit. There's... Kids are out again. Nothing there, can't use them. There's no black. Needs the black. There's a bunch of salamanders called the Disciples of the Flame that were a shattered legion that were dispatched to Isfahan to see what happened to Vulcan. Got a dash buddy. Have a great night. Well, thank you for dropping in and tormenting me again, you bastard. I hope you have a wonderful evening for the rest of it while you go to bed. Sleepy time for you, sir. Sleepy time. And I shall speak to you again soon, no doubt. Night night, night night cat, night night storm, night night Angron. Sweet dreams. Chimera Wargaming, good evening all. Good evening to you. What are you up to tonight? Um, they were led by a chaplain. When they got to Isfahan, they find a dreadnought housing of the first commander that died against orcs. Then they start following him. That's the too long to read newbies led by a chaplain that go on a quest to find Vulcan. Find an angry dreadnought instead. There's nothing wrong with finding an angry dreadnought. Angry dreadnoughts are the fun ones. They've got a lot to say. And Phil doesn't get the salamander love. I don't like them. Yeah, but then lots of people don't like stuff that you like. So, you know, everyone's different. They can have opinions. It's actually quite interesting that you chose, like, salamanders or iron hands, purely because there was an explanation years ago where it says basically, like, if, for example, a salamander space marine was chasing a heretic and the heretic's running through a crowd and he pulls his weapon out to shoot, he will deliberately delay until he has a clear shot. And the other alternative option they give is if an Iron Hand was in the same situation, chasing a heretic through a crowded marketplace, for example, he would take aim and he would fire without any regard of hitting anyone else, because all he wants to do is take out that heretic. So collateral damage is acceptable, whereas a salamander will, because of their humanity, even though they look one of the most sort of non-human-like, with their ebon jet black skin and their red eyes, sort of thing. They look the most demonic visage of Space Marines. They would still sort of, not fire into a crowded area, whereas Mr. Iron Hands has no problem. If it gets the job done, that's fine. You mean Grumpy Grandpa? Dreadnoughts are always good. They've got life experience. They've seen things, man. Seen things you wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire on the shoulders of Orion. Watch sea beams glitter in the dark at Tannhauser Gate. All these moments lost in time like tears in the rain. Yes, I think salamanders are too paladin-esque. I want to go for something a little different. So All those moments will be lost like in time, like tears in the rain. Or in a virus bomb. Rain or virus. It's all the same at the end of the day. They'll be lost. That's... I could just picture the quote coming from the Dread on Isfan. We'll go together, shall we? Sets off his reactor. A heroic gesture of defiance. Oh. There's cheering, random cheering. Why? Why are you cheering out there, you freaks? It's, younger people. Ah! Damn your eyes. Oh, Richard, hello. A late one for you as well. Your night owls coming out to play. Not to worry, that cheerfulness will be being out of them soon enough. How dare they? Yes. The exuberance of youth. Damn them! What was there? But not so neat. Neat and tidy. Get those puzzle agains. Actually, that's what I should be doing, shouldn't I, really? Doing it in the other shade. Where are you? There you are, you naughty, naughty little shade. Wow. Again, more cheering. How dare they? Let's get to skibbly bop up. Yes, there's still screams. The screams. There's, Yes. I do like putting Seraphim Sepia onto the weapons to sort of make them look different from the superstructure of Titans. So it's like, you know, different metal compounds used, obviously different reaction to being fired and everything. So that way it gives a little bit more authenticity to the whole thing. Perfect. Now that's the touching up on the trim that was needed. So normally when doing hazard stripes I would use tape, but in this instance it's such a small area and it's not a major sort of part of the Titan, so why bother? Just do it freehand and be damned with the consequences. We haven't been visited by the Ant of Doom again. So the spirits must be appeased. If you get them wrong, the punishment is rivets. Now they're shouting out, trying to find each other. Oh joy. Rivet counters. if I just so really useful box is 18 litre box for carrying AT Titans. So Sun Fury Plasma Annihilator, Turbo Lasers, Destructors, and the Extirpator. The Extirpator. So this actual Titan is the one that I based on the artwork where you see it's with the artwork, which is the modernized version of the old Adeptus Titanicus artwork where you had the Ignatum Titan standing there with another Titan behind it, with having an arm limb blown off or whatever. So ordinarily he has a power fist and a volcano cannon and las blasters on the roof. Ignis Rex is the designation of this particular engine. Else. Similar zigzag stuff. Now all my warlords have black on the back, sort of thing, because they are meant to be red, black, and yellow. So I thought I'd add just the back ones as black. So all my ones have a black back. So you can tell that this is one of the original Titans that I built because it has a very basic base. It's just like, just lots of rubble on there. Whereas Vindicta Templi, so this has no arms because I took all the arms off. But you can see that that's where I started doing more with the base on that one. So just having Legio Kratos Warhound on it. But yeah, so because my earlier Titans, they are more basic with their basing. It wasn't until I started Legio Solaria, which was my third Legio, that I started doing like using the Civitas stuff, the buildings from the Civitas box sets. Yeah, fast movers in the distance. Wow. Where's the brush gun? Je suis à la brush gun. That'll do. There must be some sort of party going over in the sport, or say sports centre, the centre over the back there. There's no reason that there's like, they sound like they're, you know, around the sort of 10 to 13 age bracket. Grass. Good. Overhead view. It's like kindergarten or junior school. Rambunctiousness. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated as always. So it'll blow dry quick. Drakenhof Nightshade. And another blow. Yes, it is good. I like him that. I like that a lot. Yes. Sam Ignatum dressed up. Vulcan Mechaballs. What's not to love with him? Well, I think as soon as it's 11, or gone past 11 now anyway, that I shall be calling it there, because there's no more debate. I've got to get up in the morning as well. So, work, yes. But yeah, no, that's really, really pleased with the productivity tonight. We've had nice chats, nice conversations. There's still bits to be done, but for the most part, that's tabletop ready. Good night, Lee. Looking great. Oh, thank you. Most kind of you. And thank you for hanging out. Yeah, so what's this? Next week. Yeah, so be back as normal from Wednesday from 8 PM onwards. And next Saturday is good as well, although I think there's events coming up. Not that I'm attending. I know Fen's coming up soon-ish. That's another thing altogether. But yeah, I'm away first weekend of August. But apart from that, yeah, should be regular viewing Friday, Wednesdays and Saturdays as always. But anyway, thank you for coming to hang out. Really appreciate it, and thanks for the chats and for the company. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, whatever you're up to. And I shall see you all again, obviously on social media and stuff, but I'll see you all again during the week, 8 p.m. Wednesday. So until then, adios muchachos, and have a great rest of your weekend.